really quick shout out to equestrian_edits27 on Instagram for making a really cute edit of Jericho. Thank you so much. Hello everyone. You are probably wondering where we are, so I do have a couple of things to explain. Me and Queasy are temporarily boarding at Valentine's stables with Jericho and Nikita. Don't worry, we still live at McFarlane, but we moved here for 2 weeks while we train these two for an endurance run. Yup, Emerald Ranch is once again hosting an event, but this wasn't one we could just attend, we needed to actually prepare for it. This is 1 day's training. The reason we're at Valentine is because McFarlane doesn't have a suitable track to run the horses on. This footage was taken about 4 days before the actual event, so Jericho is a lot fitter, but he also has a lot of work to do. The reason Queasy opted to bring Nikita, who you last saw in episode 3, instead of Gizmo is because Gizmo is too out of shape and slightly lame on his left hind leg. Plus Nikita is part Arabian, so we figured she is more than capable of completing the run despite her small size. Whilst the event was individuals and not teams or pairs, me and Queasy had already decided that we were going to do the run together, even if it meant waiting up for one another. As you can see, Jericho's saddle has been switched to an endurance saddle. We went for a dark blue and grey scheme. The saddle is from Equi Sports and the breastplate is from Leather & Co, their outdoors range. Normally I don't put Jericho in a breastplate. Not only is he really difficult to size properly because of his weird build, but usually we don't do much jumping or long distance riding, but it was encouraged in the form for the endurance run and could also double as a lantern hold when we travelled in the dark. Whenever I introduce something new to Jericho's tack, I always try and train him with it, just so he gets used to the feeling of it on him while he moved. One of my biggest concerns was Jericho stressing out on the day, since there were going to be something like 20 other riders, some officials and even bodyguards. I knew once he got into the rhythm of the ride he would relax, but I really didn't want to be that guy at the starting line whose horse is freaking out and making other horses uncomfortable. I think being around Valentine that had lots of other horses, riders and even carriages would help, but it would really be down to how he felt on the day. Now, Jericho isn't an aggressive horse, but he can be quite spooky sometimes. And putting him in a small arena with lots of other horses that he didn't know or people talking or shouting might set him off. Being fair, I was also nervous for this event, anxious even, and I knew if I let my nerves get to me that Jericho would be affected by it too. Despite all that though, I was excited. It was going to be a great opportunity to get Jericho out there doing some pretty challenging stuff, since I know that he was starting to get bored at the ranch. As you can see in this footage, a cargo wagon comes down the path. It was going quite fast despite seeing us walking up, and let me tell you, Jericho was not happy about that at all. He gets very annoyed and, like the teenager he is, decided he's going to be mad for the entire walk up to the track. Nikita, being the angel that she is, was completely unfazed, but Jericho kept shaking his head in annoyance and I can only describe his walk as a huffy stomp. He wasn't mad at Nikita, no, he actually quite likes Nikita's company, something I had not realised since they had never actually shared a paddock and didn't usually work together. Anyway, Jericho's mood ended up transferring to me when we had to wait an hour for the track to clear after one of the managers mucked up our times and scheduled a buggy run in our slot. But after all the kerfuffle, we did set off on our rounds. Now normally we start by doing a slow trot since the walk up usually warms them up enough to start with that, but this time we did have to do a 15-minute walk to let them stretch out after all of the waiting. Now the great thing about this track was it was out in nature and allowed the horses to get desensitized to the sounds and even the uneven footing in terrain. Jericho was definitely sitting back on his hind legs. He wasn't engaged at all, so what I did was ask Queasy to overtake and lead, as I knew this would get Jericho focused as he likes to be at the front. As you can see, he immediately is watching her and I could feel him shift into a more forward trot. We did a lot of trotting, so I'm going to show you some of the more scenic parts of the track. At this point we were on about our 5th or 6th lap when Queasy called back that she was pushing into a canter, and I actually decided to hold Jericho back to see if he could chase her down later on. When he realised she was taking off, I did have to pull back. I don't blame him for this because it is his natural instinct to stay with the herd, that being Nikita and Queasy. I swear, Jericho has a little crush on the mare. He did fight me a little bit, but after a while he was able to get back into a rhythm. He was definitely a little tired at this point, so when I asked for a canter, he was really unbalanced and could not find an even stride. For some reason, he completely tensed up around his shoulders and his neck. I'm not sure if he was slightly spooked by something, was just tired, or was actually having difficulty getting into the rhythm of canter. You can even see on the footage that his strides were just all over the place, they were way too short, and he even almost tripped. I tried letting him ride it out, maybe he just needed to relax into the canter more, but he was still discombobulated and unbalanced, so I just took him back into a trot to sort himself out a little bit. Once he took a little breather, I pushed him back into the canter. This time he actually sat well into the rhythm. He was still a little bit tense, but this time I felt like I was riding the canter rather than fighting to stay on. When I was sure he was comfortable, I did push him into a more forward stride so that he would stretch his legs to cover more ground. Jericho has very long legs, but because of his rough start in the racing industry, he does have a bit of a habit of shortening his stride despite it being less effective and more effort on his part. I'm gonna go ahead and let you enjoy the ride for a little bit. Jericho did really well today. He did a fantastic job of staying focused most of the time, and apart from that minor setback with the trot to canter change, he had no issue with footing, rhythm, or listening to me and my commands. We were finishing up our last lap, so I took him back into a steady trot so that he could catch his breath, but also to stop his muscles from seizing after such a long distance. I do have to admit, I made the mistake of relaxing a bit too much to enjoy the view and even gave him a pat to say well done. That was until something to our left caught his eye. I'm not sure if it was an animal or a bit of plastic or a rock he had decided that would now be scary. But he did get very agitated. Honestly, I was shocked after such a long run that he even had the energy to get so antsy about something I hadn't even seen. Anyway, I did have to verbally try and quiet him and get him to relax, and after some huffing and puffing, he did end up forgetting about whatever had spooked him. We headed back to the end of the track at a walk to wait for Queasy and Nikita to finish their lap so that we could head back together. All in all, a pretty good day of training, and with the endurance run only 4 days away, I was pretty happy with where Jericho was. By the way, by the time we got back, it was actually too dark to see anything, so I won't really bother with that footage. We just untacked the horses, gave them a quick rinse, and then bed them down with some oats. But in the next episode, you get to see how the actual endurance run went, from the mishaps to the laughs to the stunning scenery. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay positive, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!